Oh, death, won't you spare me over till another year?
The Dark Pictures is a horror anthology developed by Supermassive Games, the same studio that created the PS4 exclusive game Until Dawn in 2015. Now, what does horror anthology mean? Well, if you're familiar with TV shows like Goosebumps and Tales of the Crypt, it's basically that. A series of horror tales which does not have any relation between themselves, usually told by a host character, like the Crypt Keeper in Tales of the Crypt.
Poor little fellas. When I think of their childhood, all those cute little maggots.
In the case of the Dark Pictures, this character is called the Curator, but we'll check him in detail a bit later.
Hello, and welcome to my repository.
Released on August 2019 for PC, Xbox One and PS4, Man of Medan is the first chapter of this anthology. This is the story of a group of 5 20-something-year-olds in search of a World War II untouched wreckage in the middle of the Pacific. The group is composed of Alex and his brother Brad, Julia, Alex's girlfriend, Conrad, Julius' brother, and Fliss, captain of the Duke of Milan, which is the boat the group hired to reach the wreckage. Every single decision you will make during the story will determine the fate of this group. This game looks awesome, to the point that sometimes it's really hard to tell if it's a game or an actual movie. The overall graphics are very well detailed, the character animations are splendid, and the use of lights and sound gives the game the exact atmosphere it should have. During exploration sections of the game, fixed camera angles are being used, and this reminds me a lot of the ones used in Silent Hill. They're used very well to set the tone of the game on each turn, door, and walkway that you're exploring. Lighting is used wonderfully, creating beautiful scenarios during clear sections of the game and very, very creepy ones during the dark parts of it, which are predominant in this title. Sound also plays a big role in setting the tone of the game and creating tension in every room. If you have a home theater system, you will feel like you're part of this horror movie. If not, do yourself a favor and play with the best headphones you can find, as sound's a crucial part in the immersion that this game seeks to create. The Curator is wonderful, and fortunately he'll be part of each chapter of this anthology. As mentioned before, he plays the same role as the Crypt Keeper in the show Tales of the Crypt, by presenting each story and interacting with the player, breaking the fourth wall.
I am the curator of stories. Stories of love and hate, greed and beauty, life and death, stories such as this one. I'm here to record the story you choose to tell. You see, this tale is only part written, and the choices you make will complete it and determine whether the lives of those with whom you are interfering continue to flourish or whether they are snuffed out.
He's the one to explain what and how your actions will determine the fate of the protagonist of each story, and as he will state, he'll be keeping a close eye on your decisions and judge accordingly. We will also might be inclined to provide some clues or tips to save some lives. As in every case in this game, the choice of taking them or not is up to you.
Kind-hearted creature I am, I'd like to offer you some forewarning of what's to come. Tempted?
Something that I really disliked about this game is how it relies so heavily on cheap jump scares.
Whoa! I think I wet my wetsuit.
Don't get me wrong, there are a couple that are actually good.
His own face. And then its eyes bulge out and screams.
But most of them are just cheap and completely unnecessary, and there's so many of them. If anything, this technique, if it can be called that way, just makes the game less scary, even less interesting. With such great graphics, sound and settings, they could have done a much better job of keeping the player engaged, and therefore scared longer and more consistently.
I really don't need this right now.
I played the game on Xbox One, and the performance is terrible. There are so many FPS drops, textures takes ages to load, and there's long loading times during cutscenes. All of these can be quite off-putting and sometimes even ruins the experience, as you're concentrated on what's going on and suddenly there's a freeze frame of 2 or 3 seconds where a new cutscene should start, and then the next one comes all choppy with textures not loaded properly, and the moment's actually gone. I have not had the chance to try it, but I reckon that the PC version, with high-end PC of course, wouldn't have these issues. In general, Man of Medan is an interactive story, or to put it in more simple terms, it's a playable spooky movie. The prologue works as a tutorial for all the gameplay situations that you'll find across this experience, which are dialogue options, search for items and clues, quick time events, and exploration. And that's it. No puzzles, shooting or fighting mechanics whatsoever. Each playable character of the game has different personality traits, which change as a result of conversation with other characters and events during the game. Character traits will unlock different parts of their personality and different dialogue options for the same conversations. Key points in the story are grouped in what the game called B-rings, and they can be checked at any time in the pause menu. B-rings are a good way to check your decisions up to a certain point and make changes during future playground. During exploration sections, the controls are awful. They seem to have some sort of lag that makes moving around not difficult, but clumsy. It kind of feels like the characters are chunkier than they actually are, and corridors are narrow enough to be stuck on a wall that's apparently not as close as it actually is. While exploring, you will come across some paintings on the walls that will show you a short video of a premonition. They serve as a clue of what will happen at some points of the story and will help you make a more informed decision when the time comes. There's also two co-op game modes. The online one, Shared Story, puts you and a friend in control of a different character simultaneously, and their actions will affect each other and the story directly. The Couch Co-op Movie Night mode lets you play with up to 5 people, each controlling a different character by passing along the controller when prompted. In my opinion, the game will be most entertaining if you're playing the movie night mode, as you can talk, discuss, and have different options taken for each player. Good luck finding 4 other friends who are willing to watch a 3.5 hours long B-horror movie. The Dark Pictures as an anthology holds great potential. The whole idea of different stories with the same base game works in many ways, and the curator is a good throwback to those 90s horror TV shows.
As in life, the actions you take matter. The choices you make will affect others.
The general look and feel of the game is good, and I hope that new generation hardware will help with the performance issues on the console releases. Unfortunately, the crappy controls during exploration, the heavy use of cheap jump scares, and the monotony of dialogue and quick time events takes too much away from the experience to make you feel fear while playing. Also, the game mechanics doesn't seem to affect the game at all. Despite being quite interesting in paper, character traits and relationship meters does not seem to add anything to the game on the first run, and they hold the potential to be key to create an actual game out of this story. These 3 gameplay elements are more relevant for future runs, as when you play the first time you don't know much about any of the characters or how they're going to behave or the situations they're going to be facing. So B-rings, it's a good way to make different decisions. Character traits lets you find different ways that the characters will behave during the story, and relationship meters will help you understand how they will react to each one of the conversations that they have. In conclusion, it feels like Man of Medan tries so hard to be a movie that it forgets that it's a game at all. So, if you're looking to play a spooky movie for Halloween, this might be a good option for something new.